You
Right.
want me to read 4 through 6 or just about the couples?
Yeah, 4 through 6.
Okay. Two couples lynched beneath Moore's Ford Bridge, epidemic of mob violence. White mob violence led by Georgia State Police included the broad daylight killing of two black couples beneath Moore's Ford Bridge. Roger Malcolm and his pregnant wife Dorothy, and George Dorsey, her brother, and his wife. Earlier in the summer, Roger stabbed his white landlord for showing sexual interest in Dorothy, and her brother said black men have the same right as white men to protect their women. Frederick Douglass had said a century earlier that the myth of the black man as rapist was an invention with a well-defined motive. That myth was used for Reconstruction on as a way of keeping black men from voting and a catch-all drag charge to justify white-on-black violence. An example was the mob into which white police released John C. Jones and Albert Harris in August 1946 for acting uppity when they protested an unfair land deal. The men were accused of prowling around a white woman's window, but she refused to press charges. NAACP leader Walter White described the rampant violence in 1946 as a rabies of the spirit, a mob sickness, and a dread epidemic, and joined with 40 civil rights groups to form the National Emergency Committee Against Mob Violence. Images of lynchings and mob violence mocked ideas of democracy America was selling abroad, and the Soviet newspaper Trude wrote an expose on the position of Negroes in the USA. The Emergency Committee met with President Truman, who responded with Executive Order 9808, creating the President's Committee on Civil Rights on December 5, 1946, nearly a decade before Brown. The committee's report condemned lynching, disenfranchisement, and racial discrimination of public accommodations, housing, and employment, and agreed it was the federal government's job to protect individuals from racial violence. That would not be codified until the Civil Rights Act of 1968. So the segregationists, including Strom Thurmond and James Eastland, viewed the report as an attack on the Southern way of life and an invitation to interracial sex. Rosa Parks was concerned about backlash and warned colleagues at the Alabama State NAACP convention held in 1948 to be wary of any federal civil rights promises.
Okay.
The discussion questions out of this are, was Rosa Parks a prophet? And was it reasonable in 1946 to expect that the federal government could offer protection to victims of racial discrimination and white-on-black violence? If so, is it still reasonable to expect such protection in 2014?
Um, well, yeah, I think Rosa Parks was a prophet. um, and yeah, I think in 1946, it was reasonable to expect that the federal government could provide protection against that rampant white mob violence. Um, just like I think it was reasonable in the 1860s to expect that the federal government could uh, provide protection for people that were enslaved. Um, I'm not so sure that in 2014 um, we can still find it reasonable to rely on the federal government for protection. Um, I think it may be a reasonable desire, um, but I don't know that I think that it's realistic. We've had a lot of laws on the books designed to protect different classes of people from um, various forms of discrimination and violence. Um, but we still have our Trayvon Martins. We still have our Renisha McBrides. We still uh, we still live in a very violent country. So I think something different is needed. I think we have to move to a more individual level or a micro level or something, um, of figuring out how to live in the world together. So that's my ramblings. Randy, what did you think?
Well, when I read Rosa Parks' speech after she learned about everyone trying to get the president to incorporate this initiative, I doggy-eared the page in the book because I agree with her. And so, of course,
Uh,
there would be backlash, as there still is backlash in 2014 whenever Black people try to do something, or people of color.
right.
Me just personally been on college campus, whenever we try to make and have the school protect the people of color, um, especially the black people on campus. There's sort of backlash weeks to follow, and it's a shame that history just continues to repeat itself. And I don't know. In the chapter, Rosa Parks mentions, it's very difficult to stay encouraged when it seems like all your everything you want is in vain. All the work you're doing just to get multiple cases thrown out, and people are dying and women are being raped.
Mhm.
So it's very when I knew that there would be backlash. Was it reasonable to expect our government? I think, like you said, it was a reasonable desire. Our government should be protecting us. That's what they say they would do. But I honestly don't think that it's responsible of us now and to keep expecting the government to step in. I think as long as abuse and disenfranchisement of black people and people of color keeps making money, racism and all, it's never gonna go away. So it's too profitable.
Mhm.
And the government, America's capitalistic society, that's why slavery was implemented, for economic gain. And so I don't know. I think that you're right. We do have to come up with other forms of resistance and protection for ourselves, because our government isn't encouraged to do so.
Mhm. Mhm. Let me introduce to you all Georgette Moses, or how are you going on Google? G Moses. Hello, hello. Georgette and I have been friends for several years on Facebook, and she's been trying to get into this hangout here since we started it on June 3rd. She finally got in, and this is my first time seeing your face. Hello.
Oh, you wouldn't believe what kind of a week I've had. Ladies, forgive me, I have not read the chapter.
Okay.
This week I'm watching my 14-month-old granddaughter for my
Oh.
cousin's wife, and it's been a while since I had a baby in the house. So let me just tell you.
I understand. Well, when you get a chance, if you go to the Google page, the book group's Google page, there's chapter highlights there, so you can catch up on both the first chapter and the second chapter.
Okay, excellent.
All right, all right. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead. Vanita, hold, hold on. Vanita, unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Okay, did you have any thing you wanted to say about expecting the federal government to protect you?
I do believe it's reasonable to expect the federal government to protect us. However, I don't think it's responsible of us to rely on them to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just no better way. It's no other way to put it. I just don't know what else to say about that other than what we expect and what we have seen in the past and in the present is that we rely on ourselves to protect ourselves. So no, I think it's reasonable today and then, but no, I don't think we should be relying on that.
So Rosa Parks was a prophet.
You gotta believe that. You gotta believe that. Yes, she was. I have to give Rosa all her props. I might not have made it then.
You know we wouldn't have made it.
We've had those discussions before, and you know, I just don't know if I wouldn't have made it. And it takes a whole bunch of person to do that. You know, so many incidents. You know, I'm in my 50s now, and so many things have happened, and nothing shocks me. But one thing I do know for sure: if we don't start relying on ourselves and each other, we're going to become extinct, because we're almost there now. So we can't rely on the government for anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely, positively anything. Push start shoving, we're on our own.
Yeah.
And that's from real life experience.
I know.